Welcome to the grand departure of the 14th edition of the Ocean Race, live from Alicante, Spain. Final approach into the line. 11th Hour Racing Team having to put on the brakes and flog their sails a little bit too close with 10 seconds left to go on the clock. Behind them, Biotherm looks strong to windward, but the big question is, Guyot Environment Team Europe, are they going to be given a little bit of space by Team Malizia on the line? They are, but all three of those boats with Team Malizia and Team Holcim PRB back from the line. It's Biotherm with the best start and racing right over the top of the Americans. 11th Hour Racing Team, no breeze to leeward. It's Biotherm's turn to lift that bow up. It looks fantastic, but it's not very fast. As you're saying there, Sam, it's actually grinding in that transom, and it's kind of too much from the foils. They need to smooth out that ride. Biotherm round with breeze. They are hurtling away at about 23 knots. I actually expect them to go a little bit slower on this next downwind section, but look at the battle for second, third, fourth, and maybe fifth as well, with compared with Team Malizia. All these boats starting to go now, with Guyot Environment Team Europe facing a little bit of a choice here. Do they go to windward or Boris Herman ahead, or do they try and get on the inside? Guyot Environment Team Europe tries to take the inside, and they are going to potentially be able to dictate when these two boats jibe now.
They've all got the windward foil out except Malizia. So the guys on Malizia have got one extra set of winching to do.
Sam Goodchild down below on Team Holcim PRB, and I know we haven't been watching him the entire time, but it almost feels like he's been grinding since the start line. Four of our IMOCAs making our way down to the next turn, Mark II, a left-hand turn. It is Biotherm safely round. They didn't make any sail changes on this downwind leg. Can Team Holcim PRB do the same? That's a lot of heel right now for that turn. Well, look at this from 11th Hour Racing Team. They have sailed an absolutely incredibly strong downwind section. And now, for this grand departure in the start of leg one, we get a little aerial display as well, flying in over the city and over the racecourse as well. This is how the fleet has stretched themselves out, with its Team Malizia now in last place, Guyot Environment Team Europe in fourth, 11th Hour Racing Team in third, Team Holcim PRB in second place, and stretching ahead at times 24, 25 knots. Paul Mayer and the crew on board Biotherm. Look at this, in the background, right at the back, Guyot Environment Team Europe. They've got problems with their masthead, code 0. Well, Guyot Environment Team Europe, their masthead code 0 now is under control, but you can see the distance that they have lost to Team Malizia in fourth place. A boat themselves who are a little bit behind 11th Hour Racing Team, but this is the boat right now that is setting the pace. Paul Mayer and Team Holcim PRB holding to the right and turning up what almost looks to be quite late, because they want to exit close to this mark. 11th Hour Racing Team doesn't want to get locked to leeward. They are now following that turn as well, but I mean, from that start I did not expect to see Charlie Enright back to third at this point. 28 knots of boat speed for the race leader at the moment, Biotherm, as they rip their way around Mark IV back onto that reaching course. They've got to go through the start line, out through the leaving gate, and then they are off to the open part of the Mediterranean where some big breeze is waiting for them. Mark IV, the last of those left-hand turning marks, and as 11th Hour Racing come round. Next to come round, Mark IV, is Team Malizia, and we get a sense now of how this fleet has stretched round. It feels like a long time ago that Biotherm Racing came round Mark IV to start that final stretch to the leaving gate. Now, Boris Herman and crew bearing away with a nice bit of room to spare to let the boat build up those enormous curved foils, just waiting to come into action now as the boat speed kicks in as we go on board. The ropes there, the little cords that Will Harris was just adjusting on that pedestal, engaging different winches. That one pedestal can be used in so many different ways, as we just check in now with the way that this racetrack has laid out our teams. The top three, 11th Hour Racing Team in third, Team Holcim PRB in second place, and realistically, Kevin Escoffia on board Holcim PRB is the only boat that's close enough to put any pressure with Biotherm, and the speed on Biotherm, it's not quite what we saw before.
On est à 1-2. On est à 1-2 en règle.
Team Wholesome PRB behind has arguably done a slightly better job, but so far for Paul Mayer in the lead, still with him on board Biotherm. Decisions can be pretty varied indeed. Biotherm making great use of the conditions there, really starting to pull away. And you can see from that helicopter shot the darker patches, the streaks of the breeze coming in from the left-hand side of your picture, sweeping over to the right. All of that causing adjustments that need to be made constantly. Stretching out in the lead and really tearing up the conditions here in Alicante as leg one underway into some fantastic breeze in southern Spain.
Bit of an obstacle course going on right now around those ships.
Team Wholesome PRB at the moment in second place. Kevin Escoffier trying to match the speed of Biotherm out in first place.
Wholesome is down below, absolutely ripping. Sails look very twisty from up here. Foils set impeccably.
Militia to leeward at the moment of 11th Hour Racing Team. Their speed is down. We saw them maybe a moment ago, maybe a minute ago, bows up doing an enormous cartwheel. Their speed right now is a shade under 14 knots, whereas to windward 34 knots with 11th Hour Racing Team. So there's Guyot Environment Team Europe. They are back up to speed now and they are ripping, and I'm sure with the sailors that they have on board this boat, Sam, I mean, there's a lot of miles left to go and they could get right back into this.
Exactly, it's always frustrating to be last out, to have issues, but realistically there's no distance between these 5 boats just yet, and there's a lot of obstacles in meteorological terms to come across between now and Gibraltar Straits.
Well, we have had, what, 40 minutes of racing here in Alicante, and we are seeing an incredible stretch across our 5 teams. Interesting, well, we've got that shot of Biotherm, to note that the windward rudder on Biotherm is still down, whereas earlier when we were with Team Wholesome PRB, the windward rudder was up. I love drawing conclusions that are too dangerous to make, but I wonder whether Biotherm thinks that there is the potential that they will be jibing to get down to Tabarca, and by the line they're making at the moment, I'm feeling like I might put some money on it. And look at the difference in speed, 25 knots for the Americans to leeward and barely 12 for Team Militia to windward. And I'm guessing here, what you can't see is the angle that we are shooting on here from the chase boat. Behind them is the shore. The further south, the further away from that shore you can get, the odds are that the breeze is more consistent, certainly, but perhaps stronger. So 11th Hour Racing Team have done well to find that chance to go down and get into the best breeze. But at the moment, fast, because Team Wholesome PRB are coming in here at nearly double the speed at the moment. Team Wholesome PRB overtaking Biotherm to windward. This import section, still some racing to be done here in Alicante. Leg one, rather fantastic. We hope you've enjoyed the action in Alicante, and there's more to come.